Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, today I have a couple of bizarre articles dealing with encounters with alien beings, folks, and both articles are certainly, once again, very phenomenal. Let's get into the first article. Baltimore County UFO encounter, cigar-shaped craft drifted over North Rolling Road. Very interesting, folks. Let's get into this article and hear what the witness actually saw. Let's read the opening now. On a farm between Rendlestone and Wolf Lawn, a child's serene midnight memory of a waving figure aboard a cigar-shaped craft has lingered for decades. Too vivid to dismiss as a dream, too general to call an abduction, as more reports of strange aerial activity and hidden installations emerged in the same region. The question remains, what really happened over North Rolling Road that warm summer night in 1980? Let's hear the full story now, folks. I'm not entirely sure if it was a dream or a reality, but it felt genuine, and I've lived with it my whole life. We owned a farm in Baltimore County, Maryland, on North Rolling Road between Rendlestone and Wood Lawn. It was approximately 18 acres. The incident took place at night. I'm not sure of the exact time, but everyone in the house was asleep. All I can remember is that it was an obvious night with a few white puffy clouds. I was standing outside the back of the house looking up. I don't remember even going outside, as the memory begins with me gazing up at what some would call a cigar-shaped craft. It looked gray on the top and bottom, with windows that seemed to wrap around the center of the craft. There were no lights except for the windows, which emitted a continuous white light. The craft was tipped to its side, and a person was standing toward the front of it, waving. I remember this person looking just like us, with familiar human features and wearing a jumpsuit. The whole incident didn't last long at all. As he was waving, the craft leveled out and casually drifted away. Now, this sounds like it could have been a very pleasant dream, folks. Perhaps this is what this man actually experienced when he was a young boy, but I don't think that this is at all the end of it. I think this was probably more than a dream, folks. What this really was could have been maybe an alien encounter, not an abduction, but an actual contact with an actual being from beyond, folks. But let's finish this story and then we can discuss it afterwards. As it departed, I looked up and saw several crafts high in the sky, moving at various moderate speeds. None were traveling at super fast speeds, just cruising at different rates. After that, I went inside and went back to sleep. It's a dream that has stayed with me since I was a child. I don't know how I got outside, but I wasn't scared or anything like that. In fact, it was a very peaceful feeling. I think it happened in the summer because it was a warm night. I remember going inside and just going to bed as if nothing had happened. It was a weird experience, but I think it was a very peaceful one. Jay. So, very interesting, folks. Now, what was this encounter? Was it real or was it just a dream, folks? As I said, I think there was more to this story, folks. It sounds like this being that contacted Jay here could have been basically very much like the classic descriptions of the Space Brothers, these peaceful humanoid aliens that basically do contact people. But that's just me, folks. Maybe it was just a dream. But there's also a note left at the end of the article, folks, with a little more information, so maybe that'll give us a better idea. I lived near this location at the time of the sightings, May 1st, 1980, and this is not the first report of odd activity in the area. Since that event, the area has been inundated with unmarked facilities, heavy security, and a wide range of microwave antenna and other electronic communications equipment. There have been numerous reports of triangle craft appearing and then simply vanishing in the general location. So, maybe the fact that this area is rife with basically such incidents of UFOs, that maybe the military and the government itself has taken interest in it, and they basically militarized this area to some degree. Maybe basically they're either worried that these aliens are hostile, or at the very least they want to make sure that regular people don't become aware of them. Maybe that's why this area is so rife with such things now, folks. But then again, I'm just guessing. Either way, a very interesting article and story for sure. But let's move on to the next one. Grandmother's terrifying alien encounter in Brigantine, New Jersey bedroom. Let's get into this account that truly terrified this woman and gave her nightmares of the rubbery alien beings that she encountered, folks, that truly terrified her. Let's get into her account by reading the opening now. In the early hours of February 24th, 1997, a grandmother's quiet night in Brigantine, New Jersey turned into a battle for survival against unearthly intruders. What began as an eerie stillness soon spiraled into a violent struggle with strange humanoid beings whose cold, rubbery flesh defied reason and left her marked with unexplained puncture wounds. Let's get into the full story now, folks, and read exactly what happened to this, woman. On February 24th, 1997, at approximately 1 o'clock a.m., a 50-year-old grandmother from Brigantine, New Jersey, was sleeping in a room with her grandchildren. To comfort them, she had left several lights on. Suddenly, she woke up and noticed that the lights had been turned off. As her eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness, she felt a presence in the room. She saw two short figures standing near her bed and attempted to reach out to them telepathically, pleading with them to take her if they would leave the children alone. The beings did not respond to her plea. So either the short gray aliens did not hear this woman or they were ignoring her, and their interest was the children. But the fact that this old woman knew anything about alien lore at all is not that surprising, but it is still somewhat interesting that she did know anything about this. She surmised that they were aliens, I guess, folks, and that they were telepathic, because she probably heard about them from somewhere. Maybe she was a UFO enthusiast, perhaps? Maybe? We don't know. Let's read on and find out. Startled, the grandmother felt an aggressive movement as one of the beings grabbed her. In a moment of instinct, she jumped up and punched the being in the face, which felt like hitting hard plastic. She struggled with the figure, grabbing it by the throat, and noticed its neck was horribly wrinkled. The being was about 5 feet tall, and then, in a desperate attempt to defend herself, she bit the being. She described it as feeling like being a cold piece of ham. After several minutes of struggling, the being collapsed to the floor. At that moment, a third figure appeared in the room. The two stunning beings moved toward her, and one brushed against her face, grabbing her wrist. This one seemed stronger than the first. Suddenly, she passed out. When she regained consciousness, the figures were gone, and the children appeared to be unharmed. However, she suffered from a severe headache afterward and discovered 3 puncture wounds on her neck. Source of the story comes from the witness, folks. Now, did this alien being abduct this old woman, folks? It sounds like it. And were the children really unharmed? Were they perhaps abducted and God knows what was actually done to them, folks? But apparently, so far as the grandmother could surmise from looking at them, they appeared unharmed. So were there any puncture marks on her grandchildren? Did she check them over once they woke up? That's what I would have done, folks, as well as maybe go to the doctor and checked out these puncture marks on my neck to see if he had any explanation for exactly what they were. But as I said, folks, it sounds like this grandmother knew about alien abductions. Maybe she was a UFO enthusiast, or maybe just a fan, had read these stories before, or read stories like these before, maybe basically in the National Enquirer, or basically from some UFO magazine that she read before, folks. As I said, the fact that she knew anything about gray aliens or aliens in general is, interesting. Maybe not surprising, folks, because even back in 1980, people were talking about these sort of things because there was, in the media, that was very popular and getting more popular all the time, the notion that aliens were visiting us, that they were abducting us, and they were doing so for reasons that, to this very day, folks, remain pretty much unknown. And this would continue into the 90s and end today, folks. But this is basically the time when basically the idea of aliens visiting us was just basically getting popular. So the idea that this old woman knew about alien beings and knew that maybe trying to speak with them with her mind was the best option to ask them not to harm the children. So that's not surprising, folks. But hearing about it is surprising, if for the fact that you don't really expect these things to happen, that people would know about aliens and try to communicate with them like this. It is somewhat surprising, but very interesting nonetheless, folks. Either way, we're now at the end, folks, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure that the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.